What's up, everyone? So today I'm doing an NBA 2020 redraft of the first round. I'm only doing the first 18 picks today because it was kind of hard after pick 18 because I felt like that was a draft class where it was like there was a ton of good players for sure, but a lot of them were like the exact same position, so it was very hard to pick from. But let's just get into the first 18 picks that I got. So with the first overall pick, I still got Anthony Edwards going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't think there's much of a question here. Anthony Edwards did great, and also he had the dunk of the year, that one play against the Raptors, so I think this pick still stays the same. So with the second pick, I think some of you guys might be surprised. I still got the Warriors having James Wiseman. I think he was a way better fit for them than a lot of people thought. I think he did better than most people thought. And also, look at this. He didn't have much of an offseason to prepare. I mean, he played 2 college games and then had almost no offseason. So I think he's going to come back the next season better. And also, the Warriors will get Klay Thompson back. So I think then the Warriors could be a title contender after this. So then number 3, I still have the Hornets taking LaMelo Ball. Definitely no question at all. He was the 2020 Rookie of the Year, 2021 Rookie of the Year. He played sensational in 2021, and I think he'll be a great player going forward. He's a great fit with the Hornets, and we saw him play lights out until the injury. I think if he didn't get injured, the Hornets probably would have made the playoffs, but still no regrets on this pick. So with the number 4 pick, this is my first draft change. I have the Chicago Bulls. Instead of taking Patrick Williams, I have him getting Tyrese Halliburton. And you look at this, the Bulls already had, Lauri Markkanen, Thaddeus Young. They'll end up getting Nikola Vucevic. They had Wendell Carter Jr. at that time, and then they get Nick Vucevic. And then they didn't really have any other guard play besides Zach LaVine. Kobe White was good, but I think if you bring in Tyrese Halliburton, that helps out Zach LaVine a lot more at the guard position. And I think this just improves the Bulls as a team. So with the 5th pick, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers taking Tyrese Maxey. We saw Isaac Okoro didn't do great last season, and Tyrese Maxey did great with the Sixers. He scored 30 points in Game 6 against the Hawks. Unfortunately, we saw the Sixers went on to lose that series in 7, but I think if Tyrese Maxey could have helped out the Cavs a lot more than Isaac Okoro did. So at number 6, I have the Atlanta Hawks still keeping Onyeka Okongwu. And we saw him make a bunch of plays in the playoffs with the Hawks, so I think this was a good pick for them. And I think they stay with this pick here, and everything would have stayed the same this season for the Hawks. The number 7 pick, I got the Detroit Pistons taking Obi Toppin. We saw Obi Toppin luckily fell to number 8 last year to the New York Knicks. And I think Obi Toppin helps the Pistons out a lot more like he did with the Knicks. I think he was a big part of why the Knicks ended up getting to the playoffs and why they had the success that they had last year until they got to the playoffs. So at number 8, I got the New York Knicks taking Emmanuel Quickley, a player that they ended up getting in the real draft. And once again, I think he was a player that also helped the Knicks get to the playoffs. You saw he was extremely quick, and he improved the Knicks a lot and helped them get to the playoffs. And I think same with Obi Toppin. If they didn't have him and if they didn't have both Emmanuel Quickley or Obi Toppin, I don't know if the Knicks would have been in the position they were heading into the playoffs. Number 9, I have the Washington Wizards taking Patrick Williams. We saw the Wizards needed a lot of help with their big men. Their best big man was basically, Rui Hachimura they had, but, their best center was Robin Lopez. They already had a lot of depth at guard with Westbrook and Beal. And I think if you add Patrick Williams, he gives the Wizards way more depth at the big man position. and helps them a lot more inside. And that way, Westbrook and Beal can get the ball inside and they don't have to take as many outside shots or have to handle the ball as much with the guards if they have Patrick Williams there. So number 10, I have the Phoenix Suns taking Precious Ochia. I mean, we saw them last year take Jalen Smith, but Jalen Smith was a great college player, but that did not translate to the NBA because he ended up playing in the G League in the NBA. So I think if they had Ochia, that would have been a lot better. I mean, they're in the finals right now, and they're probably going to win the finals, I think, because they're up 2-0 right now against the Bucks, so it won't really matter. But Ochia would have been better for them than Jalen Smith would have been. So number 11, I have the San Antonio Spurs taking Killian Hayes. I think he did fine in Detroit, but I think if he was in San Antonio, he would have been able to do a lot better under Greg Popovich, because I know one thing Greg Popovich can do well is he can develop young rookies. Take, for example, Jonathan Simmons, his first 2 years in San Antonio, especially his second year in San Antonio, he looked amazing. Like, he was dunking all over people. He was playing out of his mind, and then he goes to Orlando, doesn't do well there, goes to Philly, doesn't do anything there, and he's not even on a team now. So I think any kind of rookie that would be in San Antonio would do better under Greg Popovich and would have their careers be a lot better in San Antonio. Number 12, I have the Sacramento Kings taking Payton Pritchard, and I think Tyrese Halliburton was a great pick for them, but he's gone. So I have him getting Payton Pritchard to fill out the guard spot. I think Payton Pritchard did well in Boston. It's just Boston wasn't really healthy towards the end of the season. Like, Boston started the season great until Kemba was hurt all season. Jaylen Brown had an injury, and ever since that, their whole team just did not do well towards the end of the season. But in the end, I think Payton Pritchard did well, and I think he'll do well going forward at the point guard position. And I think that possibly, now that Kemba's gone, I think he could fill out that point guard position next year if the Celtics don't sign any other guard. Number 13, I have the New Orleans Pelicans taking Cole Anthony, and he did well last year. I saw him hit a few game winners at the buzzer. Last year, it just wasn't noticeable because he was on the Magic, and the Magic are totally in a rebuilding mode right now, but I think he would have done perfectly fine in New Orleans. New Orleans, it's been tough for them last 2 seasons. We already see Zion made one out of New Orleans. Now he's going to be playing under, if he stays in New Orleans, he'll be playing under his third coach in every season. He'd be playing with a different coach every season, but I think if Cole Anthony was there, he could have changed some of the stuff that is happening there right now. At number 14, I have the Boston Celtics taking Zeke Naji. I think the Celtics need a lot more help at their big men position, and I think Zeke Naji would have helped them. I mean, they had Daniel Tice at that time, but they traded him to Chicago, so the only one they had after that was Tristan Thompson, and I think Zeke Naji would have been able to help that out at that time. But, I mean, now it doesn't really matter because they have Al Horford now, but at the time it would have mattered, I think, if they did bring him in. So number 15, I have the Orlando Magic taking Isaac Okoro, and I don't think he would have been any better than Cole Anthony, but he was the best guard that was available, so that was pretty much their only option that they had. Number 16, I still have the Pistons taking Sadiq Bey, a player that they still have right now. I think he did fine. Last year it just wasn't noticeable because the Pistons didn't do great. It seemed like the Pistons, they came in a bunch of close games. They just couldn't close them out. But this year they have the number 2 overall pick, so we'll see what they use. And that Jeremy Grant's playing on the U.S. Olympic team, and Sadiq Bey right now is training with the U.S. Olympic team. Number 17, I have the Thunder taking Kyra Lewis. I think right now the Thunder, they're just in a totally rebuilding mode right now. So he's pretty much the best player they had left to draft. I mean, it gives them a ton of young talent to go around. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Lou Dort, who are pretty much the only two decent players that they have right now besides all their other young players. But they were doing just fine early in the season when they had George Hill, Al Horford, Trevor Ariza, but then they traded Trevor Ariza, they traded George Hill, they sat Al Horford for the season because they weren't tanking. Right, like, it seems like the last 2 seasons they had tried to tank, but it had never worked, so this year they just decided to give everyone away just so that they can have a young team. Like, they're going to have so many first round picks in the next few years. Like, by 2026, they're going to be so good if they keep all of their young players and don't trade them like they did with Durant, Westbrook, Harden, Paul George, every superstar that it seems like they've had. So number 18, the last pick that I'm going to do, I have the Dallas Mavericks taking RJ Hampton, and they had drafted Josh Green, who did fine when he was in, but it was like the Mavericks didn't need a ton of rookie help because they already had like Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, Tim Hardaway. They lost last season in a heartbreaking defeat to the Clippers in 7 games when they were up 2-0, and it looked like in Game 3 they were going to run away with it, but the Clippers came back hot, and they ended up winning the series in 7, and that was disappointing as a Laker fan. It would have been nice to see the Clippers lose in the first round, but they didn't, so it is what it is, and the series is over now. Those are my first 18 picks of the 2020 NBA draft that I would have redone. And I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please click like and subscribe. And in the comments, let me know if you guys had any questions about some of my picks.